Beautiful sunny day in Sydney. We have changed arenas. We are at Kudos Arena at Sydney Olympic Park. Day one action of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Pacific Regional. Jeremy Austin here, Danae Brown as well. Lily Cosgrove will be joining us later on the competition floor. Great team competition this morning. A few surprises, but nothing we're not used to seeing down here in the Pacific.
Yes, Jeremy, it was a fantastic display we saw this morning. Very exciting way to start the weekend. So event one, we've seen this before. It's the 333. It's a 3,000 metre row, followed by 300 double unders and a 3-mile run. So the only thing different with this particular event than the one we saw at the CrossFit Games is that the athletes will be running on the Assault Air Runner.
Lane assignments. A guy you're not used to seeing in the first heat of day one of regionals is James Newberry in lane number 6. Not a great result after week one of the Open, but looking to get his way back to the Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison in August later on this year.
This first event, a repeat of a CrossFit Games workouts from 2014.
So this is a monostructural event where we don't see a barbell, a kettlebell or a dumbbell in sight. This event is going to test the athletes' cardiovascular fitness and their ability to go long distances. Now, all implements used in this event will test these athletes' work capacity and how well their bodies can perform a rhythmic, dynamic activity at a moderate to high intensity for an extended period of time. And you know what, Jeremy, when we take a look at and analyse the programming this year, we see how well-rounded it really is. I believe there really is something for everyone here over the weekend. And I believe, you know, you can't really be a specialist in any field if you want to do well at the end of this weekend. With that said, I think we're going to see a few specialists in their field, and we're going to see some wonderful event times as the weekend proceeds, which should make it very, very interesting for everyone watching.
A long time on the rower, a little bit of time on the double unders, and then the hard slog starts on the Assault Air Runner. The guy I mentioned earlier, imminent peril was what Sean Woodland described his Open performance after week one. He had to toil pretty hard, and as the Pacific Regional champ from last year, had a chat to him yesterday for a good 30-40 minutes, and he said, don't worry, I'll be sitting there at number 1 on top of the podium come Sunday afternoon. So mentally and physically a little bit broken after last year at the Games, and then the Invitational. Lost a bit of drive to train, so what did he do? Packed up everything, let's go train with the fittest woman on earth up in Gladstone. So he spent the entire Open with Tia Claire Toomey and got his love back for training again and clawed his way back from the Open. But here he is in heat number 1 of event number 1, the 333. So look for him to get over that finish mat a number of times throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and we certainly will be cheering for him over the weekend. Now, the athletes will try and keep a nice and composed pace as they move through this event. You can see the rower there. We've got athletes just moving at probably a pace that is just below what their split times would be for a 2K, so that they can conserve their energy as they move through the double unders and then finally onto the run. We're looking for nice long strokes here from each athlete. It's almost like a 1 count back, 2 count forward, just so that they can ensure they get some air into their lungs. This really is the warm-up component of this event. You could have someone who could be an incredibly good rower and do very well in this event if they're a good rower and runner, which is quite possible, but it's certainly not one here. It's a 24 stroke per minute, 24, 23 stroke per minute count, and a 147 per every 500 meters. So that's for James Newberry. So he's trying to keep very composed here, which is probably well under if he was going to go for a 1K or a sprint.
And the pace on the road for that was 145. So 10 minutes and 30 seconds is when the event record holder got off the rower. We've got a number of gentlemen that are hovering around that pace.
Now, in CrossFit, what we want to do is we want to reward the generalists and not the specialists like most sports. So you need to be able to go long. You have to have good muscle endurance. You have to have a high speed and power output, and also strength. Plus, if that's not enough, you also need to be technically skilled. Now, as a result, this Result CrossFit really does create this very unique athlete which can do it all. And that transfers over fantastically to a lot of other sports. But you know, what it also creates for the people like you and me generally, or the general population.
No, just you.
If you will.
I'm on the other end of the scale.
Is people that can tackle life and handle things like keeping up with the kids, doing long days of work in the yard, or other household projects. You know, this weekend what we do see is a spectacular display of the premium level of athletes and the premium caliber of athletes. And these are the best of the best here in the Pacific region.
5:30 down on the clock, so roughly about halfway through their row, the 3,000 meter row to start off event number 1. For those of you watching our live stream, we've got some results for the team competition after 2 events. Wow, boom, it is the Battle of the South, and Reebok CrossFit Frankston and Schwartz's CrossFit Melbourne level pegging in that #1 spot. East Tamaki, no surprise to see those guys in there, but Kira Wee doing very well to get into that top 5 position. Athletic rounding out our top 5, and 1-2-1. So 3 teams from Melbourne in the top 6. Moorabbin just out as well, so don't discount them, especially going into the last 2 days of competition. So very tight at the top with Frankston and Schwartz's.
Now, Lavanda, Watt, and Newberry are also under 1,200. In fact, Hayden Lavanda is...
As we look down the line, we'll see the guys, you know, with a few different techniques. What we really want to see is that nice, long stroke, smooth transition, moving back rhythmically as they transfer to the top of the rower. We want to kind of err away from, you know, stopping at the top of the stroke. We want to try and keep it as consistent and moving forward in one smooth motion as best as possible. So keeping it very clinical.
Matt Riley, right of screen. Mason Doherty, left of screen. Look out for Matt Riley at the start of day number 3. He loves a good chipper, so the 50s is going to suit him very well. He's a very big, tall, powerful athlete, so his stroke rate and his power on this row is going to bode well for the 3K.
What I'm looking at here, Jeremy, is between Matt Riley, who is in the black t-shirt with the true lettering on there, is that he is looking very smooth. See how every stroke is, if you put a count and a time to it, is almost exactly the same. And that's going to conserve a lot of energy and move very efficiently, and as you mentioned, bode very well as we get onto the later implements in this event.
Don't be surprised to see Matt Riley get off that rower first.
So Doherty is approaching the last 500, as is Lavanda, and in fact, Lavanda has put in a decent 200 metres and he now finds himself equal with Doherty. So
Hayden Lavanda, no surprise to see him back here on the competition floor again. He's from CrossFit Artax. Missed the Open last year, but he's finished 2015 and 2016 in 20th and 19th position. Doing very well, but looks like he's breathing a little heavy as well.
You will be able to observe it in a moment. Lanes 8.
9 minutes down. Expect these athletes to get off the rowers in the next minute or so. Our split time, 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
300 metres remaining.
That was from the European Regional Week 1. I can tell you what, it's been interesting to note that only 3 athletes worldwide so far that have won the 333 have qualified for the games in Madison this year. Are some athletes saving themselves? Are some going out and hitting it too hard? We're going to have to wait and see. 150 metres for Hayden Lavanda. That's going to be way under the split time. But can he back it up and get onto that runner as soon as he can? Hayden having a look around at displays next to him just to see where everyone else is at. James Newbury, 150 to go on his Concept 2 rower. And then he will move on. Hayden Lavanda, 10 minutes 22 unofficial split time. The double unders start now. We're looking at roughly 3 minutes. But at the top, Mason Doherty in the white shirt. The first athlete to get going, Matt Riley, the 2 athletes we focused on earlier on. Great battle with those 2 going on. Fastest cycle time from Matt Riley on the right compared to Mason on the left. But 300 is a fair few double unders to get through once that heart rate has been jacked from the rower. Mason from Tassie. If you don't know where Tassie is, it's that little island that hangs off the bottom of Australia. We sometimes sort of forget about those guys, but Mason's been here a number of times. 31st and 34 in the last 2 regionals. And has had a very average upbringing in relation to health and nutrition, but fixed that up, and he's here on the competition floor, and the first to move forward to the second set of 100. Newbury doing what he has to do. I think you'll see him kick a little bit more once he gets onto the assault air runner. And to the left of screen in the black, James Connew. Lavanda moving forward now to his second set.
As we look across the line, we can see a few different techniques going on there with the guys and how they're holding the rope. In an ideal world, we want to see the arms trying to stay as close as they can to the body with the hands facing slightly forwards. We want to try and keep those shoulders nice and relaxed and composed. And this is an opportunity for people to catch their breath as they, if they will, before they move onto the assault air runner.
Hands up, left, right, and centre. And Michael Mccoy is on his 3rd set for under-runners. Doherty and Lavanda are also on their under-runners, as is Matt Riley.
Michael Mccoy from CrossFit Dunedin, South Island of New Zealand. Been here many times also.
So he's a working capacity monster. And right next to Mason Doherty, he's been shirt off. Very well.
He's actually made up a lot of ground coming into the double unders.
So you can see the fatigue kind of setting in there as the guys move through each set of their 100 double unders. The ones who can keep as efficient as possible will be rewarded to the coming end of these double unders. as mentioned before, you know, trying to keep the rope in as close as you can to the body. A quick strip off of the shirt.
Top of screen with no shirt now, Matt Riley, the first athlete to hit the air runner. One of our bigger athletes weighing in at a massive 225 pounds, 100 kilo. Michael Mccoy hitting it as well, Hayden Lavander, and also Mason Doherty. So the first 4 off the row, the first 4 off the double unders. And now the battle begins. Newbury now has started to make a move. Matt Riley, the big unit. Give him a long, chipper event any day of the week and he'll annihilate it.
He does have to be one of the biggest competitors here. You know, at 6'2" weighing at 220 pounds. However, with that said, we do know he has a lot of lungs. And I did speak to him earlier and he was looking forward to the event 5 of the weekend, which does require a lot of cardiovascular system.
The chess pieces in the middle of the arena, just to the right-hand side. The judges are moving those every 400 meters. Judges behind will signal. I'll give you an idea of who is actually in the lead. The athletes will be able to have a look as well right across the floor. They got a lot to think about over the next 20 minutes or so. But it is going to be a 3-mile run. Conversion for that, 4.8 kilometers. Second on Thurston from Europe Regional, 35.25. Absolutely outstanding. And untouched from week number 1. We've seen a number of event records fall over the last couple of weeks. People getting a little bit more practice in. But no one has gone near this at the moment. Are we going to see it fall here? We've got 4 guys in heat number 1 who are hoping to make that happen. And James and Newbury now making up some ground.
An important point to mention, Jeremy, is that the air runner is not like regular running. It does require the athlete to, you know, move very efficiently, and it will definitely punish the athlete who is not able to, you know, move with good technique. The belt itself starts to move around as the athlete lands with their foot on the top of it.
Newbury just taking a big, deep breath, composing himself a little bit, but looking pretty comfortable.
He is looking pretty comfortable. If you look across the line, when I'm looking at people who are running, I want to see that their, you know, shoulders are pretty relaxed. And if you have a look at their hips, when they start to get fatigued, you'll see them start to sway a lot. So we know at that point that the athlete is, I guess, if you will, moving a little bit inefficient, and they're having to work just that little bit harder.
Our new leader, Mason Doherty, the chess piece moves. There he is on screen. Staying very relaxed.
He is staying relaxed, but he is moving, he is kind of swaying side to side. So let's see how that plays out in the back leg of this race. Remember, it is 3 miles. So what I would expect, or what I would probably suggest, is that when an athlete attempts this type of run, that they look at breaking it down into 3 sections. So there's a start, a middle, and a finish. I'd be looking for an athlete that starts off, you know, at a pace that is, you know, not their fastest, and then they slowly build as they progress through the run. So they're looking to gradually build from a slower pace, if you will, up to a medium pace, up to an all-out sprint coming to the end.
Newbury making the move on Hayden Lavander, now moving into 4th place.
And
what's he doing? Wiping sweat off. He's not sweating yet.
You can see his technique is fantastic. I love how high his arms are. And it looks like it looks very efficient, which is going to be fantastic through an event which, you know, is so long in duration.
And for more info in the warm-up area, let's head down to Lily Cosgrove.
I was just speaking with the athletes for Heat 2 of this event, and their eyes were all on Matthew Riley. So they all gave me the tip that Matthew Riley would be the one to win this particular heat. They thought that Newbury would come in second. But I'm actually on the floor now having a look at the athletes, and I wanted to let you know that Doherty has his eyes on Matthew Riley's screen. He'll look over every few minutes and just have a look at the pace that Matthew Riley is going at. You can see him right there. He's just having a little peek, whereas Matthew Riley is just in the zone. He's just playing his own game. So it's quite interesting to watch what the athletes are actually doing here out on the field.
It's funny you should say that, Lil. Thanks for that. Patrick Vellner in the East Regional did exactly the same thing and managed to claw his way back and just mentally mess with people just a little bit, just running that little bit faster. So great strategy from Mason Doherty. And he is the first to move forward.
It will be coming down to keeping up with Matt Riley, I think, in the end, because he is such a strong, he looks like he's in very good form, and he looks very composed in this run. As you can see, just a little bit of different technique there. To me, it looks like Matt Riley is very efficient. His hips aren't really swaying from side to side, and what we're looking at is, you know, that nice strike and foot rate as we land on the top of the belt.
Patrick Vellner finishing in 36.59. That's still 15 minutes from now. And to give you an idea, week 1 still has the top 7 times for the 333 worldwide. Have these guys learnt anything coming into week number 3? I don't think they would have practiced this event too much, though.
Not too much. James Newberry on the screen here, just in the grey shorts and with the red on the bottom. If you have a look at where his foot is striking on the top of the assault air runner, it's striking a little bit higher on the belt, which is fantastic. You know, his stride length as such might not be as long as the other competitors, but what it will be doing is it'll be turning the belt over at a faster rate. So it is a way that, you know, if you are a little bit shorter, that you can actually go a little bit faster, which is what we wouldn't see if, you know, this was a foot race without the assault air runners.
Believe it or not, Dee, we've still got 27 minutes left on our time cap. That's an eternity. It is the longest regional event we have ever seen. It's actually doubled the longest event we've ever seen. Newbury now into 3rd place behind those two, Doherty and Matt Riley. And now Michael Mccoy moving into 4th. So Hayden Lavander, that early start on the rower, is now starting to hurt him at the back end of the run.
Look, that may have been a strategy for him. Maybe he thought, you know, the rower is probably something that he can actually get ahead on. It's really hard to know, and perhaps he was playing to his strength in this particular event. Maybe, you know, he didn't feel as comfortable on the assault air runner, so he needed to try and chip away and gain as many seconds as he possibly could in front of the lead of other athletes.
Some athletes not looking as comfortable as others, but after those top 4, Doherty, Riley, Newbury and Mcleod, we've got about 5 or 6 athletes really, really tight who are starting to move up the floor pretty well. So the back end, the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to find out who's going to be coming over that finish line and who is going to be spat out the back of this assault air runner.
As you look down the line, you can see there are a couple of athletes there that are really standouts. James Newberry being one of them, who look quite composed on the run, which I think is going to fare very well for them as they finish off the last mile in this event. You know, the difference is, though, Jeremy, you know, if they were out on the road, they would be able to see exactly where each person is. So they would almost be able to, if they are, you know, confident in their running, they'll be able to slowly move in on them. Now, Doherty, I'm going to say he does look like he's really in a world of pain here. Obviously he's, you know, putting everything he's got into, you know, trying to stay ahead. But look, he's striding. You know, I think he's just in that effort. He's just trying to keep that strides as long as he possibly can, just to try and hold on.
Now, as a bit of a shock, Harry Debenham, the giraffe, has moved up now into 3rd place. So he has overtaken James Newberry and Michael Mccoy. So now we have a great battle at the back end. We saw Harry for the first time last year, and he had a top 5 in event number 3. And he's a very, very young competitor. But are we going to see him make a move now? We're about halfway through that run now. And is he just getting warmed up?
He really looks like he's digging in now, coming out the back half of this event. You can see on his face, I think he's hungry for it.
So he was actually a member in my gym many years ago, moved down to take up a coaching spot with James Newberry down at CrossFit Mode in Adelaide. And training with James Newberry seems to be paying off for him.
With Harry there in the middle, you can see where his positioning is on his arms. I like that they're at much higher, opposed to, you know, the other athletes either side of him, which are dropping a little bit. That is a little bit efficient in the technique. Now, as the athletes want to speed up, I think it's really important to bear in mind that, yes, they need to move their legs a little faster, but for them to actually speed up, they will also need to move their arms faster as well.
Doherty still our lead on left of screen, the chess piece moving forward. Newberry now back into 2nd, making a move. Matt Riley now into 3rd. So Harry just falling off the pace a little bit.
So composed, so composed.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to look at running technique, this is what you want to have a look at.
I mentioned earlier when I had a chat to James that he said he was going to come over that line a couple of times in that first position. He's doing everything now to make sure that happens. Mcleod now into 5th place.
This really is a test of, you know, work capacity and endurance. The 333 event, we've seen it at the Games and again, and now we see it for the first time here at Regionals with a 3,000 metre row, 300 double unders and a 3-mile run. So we're looking at about 4.8 kilometres on the Assault Air Runner. Jeremy, I'm going to say this is much more grueling than what it would have been at the Games, even though it was in the heat of the day. But running on that Assault Air Runner, it's got to be really taxing, both physically and also mentally.
So let's chat 333 for a little bit. 2014, boom. Dave Castro goes, okay, we're just going to go for a row, a few double unders and a run. You were, I don't know if fortunate's the right word, but you were fortunate enough to be able to do it. Your thoughts when you did it back a couple of years ago?
Well, my thoughts here, and what you know, I probably failed to mention earlier, is, you know, when you came off the, when you came off of the row and then you went on to the double unders, this 3-mile run was, you know, one of the hardest 3-mile runs that you have ever done, because your legs just felt so heavy. You know, you'd been using a lot of your legs component in the pushing part of the row, and then you'd been jumping up and down plyometrically with the 300 double unders. So by the time you got to the run, it wasn't just a normal run. It wasn't your everyday, you know, heading out for a 3-mile run. It was one of the hardest runs of your life. And I generally love running, but I can't actually think of a time where I was like, whoa, my legs feel like lead.
So let's discuss inside, awesome arena, air-conditioned, music pumping versus hot California sun.
I think it was about 40 degrees.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculously hot.
What do you prefer?
Look, it's really hard to say, Jeremy, because, you know, at least when you're out on the run, you are outside. With the assault runner, I think you'd have to be really dialed in mentally to be able to switch off in this component and try and get into the flow, because I think it might be easier to get into a flow if you are on the road instead of being here in an arena running like in the same spot.
CJ Walker, green shorts with no shirt on. He is now moved into 6th position and looking pretty good. Moving into the last 1,400 metres. CJ been here many times as a competitor and doing a great job on his negative splits. CJ's from CrossFit Torian, has a great social media battle with Royce Dunn, who's also in the same heat. Mason Doherty in the white shirt, still loping along on that assault air runner. Closely followed by Matt Riley in the right with no shirt on, black shorts.
Credit to him, Jeremy, he has kept slogging away. Credit to him.
It looks like a slog, but it's working for him, so let's run with it.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there.
Newbury in 3rd position, Harry Debenham in 4th, jostling for positions. 30 minutes down now. The fastest time is going to tick over in about 14 minutes from now. Apologies, make that 5 minutes.
You can see the fatigue really setting in with these gentlemen on screen. You know, the shoulders are starting to look a little bit more fatigued. The arms are slowly dropping, you know, from the top pectorals down to, you know, getting closer to the waist and midline. We can see a few heads slumping over as we come into the back end of this race. It really is a tough, tough test to start this weekend.
Very different events for the individuals on day 1 of competition here at the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Pacific Regional. Long endurance event to start and a massive strength endurance one to follow. It is Linda event number 2 coming up later on this afternoon. Lavander really falling off the pace, and now he's back into 9th position. Newberry, Doherty head-to-head now, and will the last little bit of this run turn into a sprint? And are we going to see the Pacific champ take over Mason Doherty and get over the line first to take the Heat 1 win for the first event for the Pacific Regional?
What I will say, Jeremy, is that it's going to be very close, but, you know, when I look at James and the technique that he has employed through this whole 3-mile run, is that he does look a little bit more comfortable, which means he may in fact have that tiny little bit more to kick up and go into, you know, the next speed. Now, Doherty, credit to him, he has really, you know, just kept at it. But can he pick up to another speed? Like, has he got it in him to then switch gears and just finish off the end part of this race?
CJ Walker, green shorts, moving into 5th now, but the battle, 3 of the top 5 right there on screen. Left, Mason Doherty. Center of screen, Matt Riley. CJ Walker to the right of screen. Our event record about to tick over in the next couple of minutes. Are these guys still a little bit away from finishing and going anywhere near that event record?
You know, the thing mentally challenging for these guys is that they don't know exactly where everybody is. Because the chest pieces are moved afterwards and they're called, they don't exactly know where they are.
Mason Doherty, the loping strides of the Tasmanian. It looks as though he has got a fair distance between him and Newbury and may take heat one out and possibly could do an event record. He seems to have sped up even though it doesn't look like he's moving very fast. That is so deceptive.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I did question, I have to admit, I did question whether he had the capacity to, you know, pick it up a notch. But hey, hands up, credit to him.
He has. He's just proven it.
All hard.
So one more to move for Mason Doherty. His chest piece will hit the red line and he'll have to exit the assault air runner and run down the floor. Just what you feel like doing when your legs are full of lead. Run another 30 or 40 metres down the competition floor. Still the same top five in Newbury, Doherty, Riley, Walker, Debenham. But it is going to be Doherty who's going to get his chest piece moved first.
He looks like he's in a world of pain, but he is fighting for it.
James looking so much more comfortable, but just hasn't got that speed.
Well, his cycle rate of his legs powering over looks really quite fast. So let's just not call it too early. Let's see what we.
The curse will continue. The really unconventional strides from Mason Doherty left the screen in the white shirt compared to James Newbury on the right.
You can see James Newbury on the right of the screen, where he's cycling his legs just that little bit faster, as I mentioned earlier, you know, trying to get to the top of the belt. If you can get your foot starting to the top of the belt, you just be able to turn that belt over just that tiny little bit faster.
And probably nothing better for these athletes to see are those meters counting down. Newbury now taking the lead from Mason Doherty with not too long to go. And Harry Debenham are not too far behind either. So Debenham now into third, overtaking Matt Riley. What a great battle, and now Newbury has started to speed up considerably. But Doherty on the left in the white shirt still maintaining that long, cumbersome stride that's worked so well for him over the last 20 minutes or so.
And it's really going to come close and to the wire. You know, we're looking at athletes as they get to that last 400, 300, that they're going to move into an all-out sprint, which, you know what, is hard to imagine. I guess when we think about the load of work that's been put in, you know, leading up to this last leg of the race.
Harry Debenham now sprinting this last 400 metres. Can he make up some ground on James Newbury and Mason Doherty? Those legs must be on fire at the moment.
He is sprinting with his hands, as you can see. You know, he's starting to move his arms much faster, which is going to also cycle his legs quickly.
Is it going to come down to a sprint down the floor? That's going to hurt.
Wouldn't that be exciting, though?
Not exactly what you want, but they're racing the clock. We've got heat number 2 coming up in just a little while. It is Newbury, James Newbury, the Pacific champ, with a win in heat number 1 of event number 1. He called his shot yesterday, and Harry looks like he has got jelly legs. But great job, Harry Debenham, to make up some serious ground.
Ladies and gentlemen, have we just put on a show for you? What an excellent way to kick off this regionals.
James Newbury, exceptional performance first off. And here comes Mason Doherty, and doing very well to finish, just over 38 minutes. Matt Riley, the big unit. Great job from Matt Riley. 4th place in heat number 1. Remembering we have got heat number 2 coming up in just a little while. CJ doing very well.
see the athletes running to the finish line, legs like jelly. They would be feeling very, very heavy.
So we have a number of men on
A wonderful finish there from James Newberry.
It's 2 minutes outside the event record, but you know what? I don't think he cares. It's all about him getting back to the Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison this year. And what a way from going from the first week of the Open where he came 93rd in the region down here to bounce back, make it to the regional, and now, hello everybody, James Newberry, he's back. Mccoy coming over the line, 39.23, all these times unofficial, of course. We've still got 10 minutes on our time cap, believe it or not. All these guys are going to be well underneath it. Nathan Horner now. CrossFit Kirrawee, his team doing very well. Top 5 after day 1 of events. So he jumped out of the team because he made the individual competition. Riley Smith, just outside of Brisbane in Queensland, up in Ipswich. Rob Watt, one of our taller competitors. So not too close between Newbury and Debenham, and Harry really making up that deficit in that last back end 800 metres. Got his legs on the way down on that run. Well, he's called the giraffe. Those legs are like jelly all the time. And he's actually still on the floor. He hasn't even got up. So this has hurt these guys, but you don't want to put it all into this one event and have nothing left for the rest of the weekend. It's that great balance.
It is a massive start to this weekend. You know, there's a lot of work that's been done just in this first event, and then to back it up with the next event is just incredible. Now, I'm really impressed with Harry's run there. I'm assuming that was all strategy-based about where he was placing and about his run in ensuring, you know, as I mentioned earlier, that the run was pretty much broken up into 3 separate sections where he would be able to have enough energy and fuel in the tank to come home strong.
And leader off the row and the double unders, and a bit of frustration for Hayden Lavander. That has hurt at the back end. We've seen it in the other 2 weeks of regionals, people going out too hard and not being able to back it up.
I think the only person that could go hard and out on the road to begin with is Sam Briggs. That's it. I'm sorry, that's the only person in the world who I think has the capacity to absolutely go out hard on the roller.
Her Terminator style, and just until they say stop.
Keep going and going and going and going, yeah.
She dictates her own time cap.
All hail Sam.
Young Cho from Brunei, Reebok CrossFit 673. Having a look over the screen as Big Royce Dunn coming over the line, and his good mate CJ Walker waiting for him. CJ getting the better of Royce on that one. And Jesse Burns, he's all finished up at 42.20. There's not too long left for the remaining 5 competitors. And 2 of them right center of screen. Aaron and Tommy, they're 2 of our smaller athletes. So those stride lengths doing a lot more work. Probably doing twice as many as Mason Doherty did. James Connu narrowly missing the games by 0.01 of a second back in 2015.
Just in case you didn't know who James Connu is.
Who is James Connu?
There
he is.
There he is.
That's him. And Tommy finishing up now. And it looks as though we are going to get all of these athletes under that time cap of 49 minutes. And well-deserved rest. Tommy Lengyel.
Now look for Tommy in event 3. I think you might do well in the gymnastics event.
Very much so. Aaron Osborn left of screen. He's now onto the last 400 metres. Grayson Schiffel's coming off now, one of our bigger athletes. Look out for this guy in event number 2. The good mail is that he is going to smash it.
Rookie, he is huge.
I think bench press has been his bag for a little bit of time. Still got 2 athletes remaining. Aaron Osborn to the left of screen, and Jake Douglas on screen now from State CrossFit in Tamworth. Don't be surprised to see these guys finish in the next minute or so. Aaron Osborn from CrossFit Sunshine Coast, just north of Brisbane, east coast of Australia. First regional competition for him. He's been toiling away for a number of years to get here, and he's finally here. And welcome to it, one of the hardest events we've seen at regional level to date. 4 minutes now remaining on our time clock, and these gentlemen are not going to be too far away from running down the competition floor and finishing off heat number 1 of event 1. Day 1 of the Pacific Regional here, Kudos Bank Arena at Sydney Olympic Park. The flags in the background, a number of countries represented here.
All right, which of these men is going to finish first? Both on their last 400. We're approaching the 46-minute mark. Osborn could not be far away now.
Crowd starting to fill in now. Everyone excited to see who is going to be qualifying for the 5 individual and team spots to go to Madison this year for the CrossFit Games. As Aaron Osborn comes down, it's just going to be over 46 minutes, and that has hurt a fair bit. Welcome to regional competition. Jake Douglas now our last competitor, and he's got to be meters away. Crowd getting right behind him. Jake will exit to the left of the air runner and try and run down the competition floor to finish off. And he now is done. Jake Douglas from State CrossFit rounding out heat number 1. And it seems like an eternity ago that James and Newbury crossed the line. But all done under that time cap. And the man with a smile on his face, hand in the air. Is that time going to be able to stack up with heat number 2? We're going to have to wait and see for about another hour or so. But he is looking good.
Cool, thanks, mate.
And looks like he's going to be bouncing back with a vengeance. That'll do things for heat number 1. We'll be back here in just a few moments. Heat number 2, the top 20 competitors from our Pacific Regional coming up for Triple 3 just a little while.
In lane 19, Luke Fiso. Lane 18, Billy Pullen. Lane 17, Aiden Brown.
Lane assignments. We've got some Games competitors here. We've got some past Games competitors. We've got some guys who are knocking on the door. Lane number 10, Dean Linda Layton, coming in as the number 1 seed after the Open. Been here a couple of times already, and a few mishaps have caused him to miss the Reebok CrossFit Games. Can he change things up? We'll know in under an hour who's going to get off to a great start at the Pacific Regional. It's going to be a long, grueling event. A 2-time Games competitor, Zeke Grove, just taking that shirt off. Khan Porter in center of screen. He wants back, and he wants back bad.
Stand by. All right, here we go.
Underway, heat number 2.
Event number 1.
49-minute time cap. It is double of what the previous longest regional event has been. And we got a lot of time between now and 37 minutes and 40 seconds, which is the time to beat from Heat 1 from Pacific champ from last year, James Newberry.
We see the two heats, they have both 20 people in their field, which is going to make it an interesting element because there is so many people out there on the floor. So many different competitors that they're going to be racing against. As we look down the line, we see a few different stroke rates. What we're looking for is a long, smooth stroke rate. So it's almost where they're not stopping at the top, and it's moving, if you will, in a count of 1 stroke back, 1, 2, and recover. So trying to keep into that flow.
Brandon Swan right of screen, gunning for a trip back to the Reebok CrossFit Games. It's been a while since he's been there. And to be honest, I haven't seen Swanee in a better place mentally or physically in the last couple of years. Married this year as well to Kelly, who has no doubt put up with a lot of his rubbish over the last couple of years. But Swanee, Zeke Grove centre of screen, and Kant Porter, can he pull out another legendary performance and book a trip back to the Reebok CrossFit Games in August? Athletes out the back would have been noting what sort of split times that everyone in Heat 1 would have been doing.
As we look down the line, what we want to see is almost like a deadlift motion, where the hips first on the drive. And everyone looks to be moving pretty smooth and methodically as they work in this first portion of this event. Now, the event isn't really won here, but, you know, you don't want to get too far behind of the field. We're looking around 2 to 3 minutes for these guys here.
Buddy Swanee just having a look over at Zeke Grove's display to see what he was rowing at. Dean Linda Layton to the right of screen, our #1 seed coming in.
Let's see if he can actually take out, let's actually see if he can make his way over to Madison. He has done very well in the Open previously, so what we're really hoping for is that he can, punch his ticket away to Madison this year. Dean Linda Layton just there in the centre of the screen with the blue shorts. He looks very composed at the start of this event. Now, this is a monostructural event where we don't see a barbell, kettlebell or dumbbell in sight. This event tests the athlete's cardiovascular fitness and their ability to go for a long distance. All implements used in this event will test the athlete's work capacity and how well their bodies can perform a rhythmic, dynamic activity at a moderate high intensity for an extended period of time. Dean Linda Layton just having a look around there. I think he's just, having a look at his other competitors, see how they're feeling at this portion of the event. I am wondering how he is feeling coming off of first place and whether he feels that, there is a little bit of pressure riding on him moving into this weekend.
We've got a little bit of info on Mitchell Sidman. Let's head down to Lily Cosgrove on the floor.
I had a chat to Mitch Cinnamon as he was warming up, preparing for this event, and he gave me the inside scoop on the row. He said he tried this event twice in training, and in one attempt he went really hard on the row, and in the other attempt he kind of paced the row, and the difference really played out when it came to the double unders. So he found when he went super hard on the row, he just lost his double unders. So for Mitch, he's decided to just pace the row, go steady, nail the double unders, and then when it comes to the assault runner, he is just going to go as hard as he possibly can.
Well, just confirming, you said he practiced this event twice.
Well, potentially not the whole event, but he practiced that strategy twice to see how the difference in the row would play out.
just trying to wrap my head around doing it like 3 times in the lead up.
Once is enough, isn't it?
Once is plenty. So, Danae, you did this event back in 2014 at the CrossFit Games, and obviously you don't want to do it too often.
I sure did, Jeremy. Now, it was important to pace the row. When I did the row in this particular event, you know, I was rowing at just below like a 2 minute per 500 metres. You can see the guys here, they're running at 150, 149 per 500. Now, if they were doing an all-out sprint, I know Mitch in particular would be a lot closer to that, you know, 135. So he is conserving his energy, as Lily said, you know, getting himself ready to complete the double unders and then working his way through the back half of the event on the 3 mile run, which is the 4.8 kilometre run on that air assault. So when we take a look and analyse the program this year, we can see how well-rounded it really is. And you know what, there really is something for everyone over the weekend. I don't actually believe you can be a specialist in any field to do really well when it comes to the end of this weekend. This event will reward an athlete who, you know, is really strong in terms of work capacity-wise, and they have a high cardiovascular system. So we're looking for athletes who are great on the road, can double under, and obviously can run.
Just behind them now. So Carnporter, Jacob
7 minutes down, a very long time capped event of 49 minutes. What a great start to regional competition here. The programming just exceptional this year, and he's really going to make every event such a good test right across the weekend.
It is a really great test across the board. You know, I think looking at it, today's events are more endurance-based. So you may not necessarily see someone who is on the top of the leaderboard, at the top of the leaderboard, you know, at the end of the weekend. But I mean, I don't want to speak too soon. It's just because the tests over each day are so different.
Well, only 3 athletes out of 12 so far have finished this and gone on to qualify. The guy on the left, Carnporter, wanting to be one of those. With more on that, let's head down to Lily Cosgrove.
I had a chat to Carnporter just before this event began, and we know he's been to the Games 3 times. He just narrowly missed out last year. He definitely wants to get back to the Games, and I asked him about his strategy for this event. Similar to Mitch Cinnamon, he tried both going hard and going easy on the row, but unlike Mitch and Cinnamon, Carn said it didn't really affect him either way. So he was planning to go out pretty hard, and as we can see, he's in the lead at the moment. So he's holding on to that strategy. He said he actually believes he could go top 3 in this event, but it would probably be smarter for him to aim for a top 10 in this event because he's concerned about how pushing really hard in this one could affect him over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see what he plans to do.
And that is something to really keep in mind. You know, this is the first event of a very long weekend. You know, when we look at the amount of work that is actually put into the 333, that accumulating effect will probably come into play when we're looking at, you know, how well the athletes are able to pull up as they get to event 6 of the weekend. You know, it isn't a sprint, it is a marathon this whole weekend. So keeping in mind of, you know, how much energy you need to exert in every single event is very, very important. And I think that really comes down to, you know, Carnporter having a lot of experience over a weekend like this. Knowing, you know, how hard he needs to push in each particular event.
As we approach the 10-minute mark, remembering the fastest time split is 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Carnporter with that look in his eye. God, he wants back, doesn't he?
He looks hungry. He looks hungry. We know what that we know what that look means.
number of athletes in the heat number 1 choosing to go and recover, take some time out. Not this guy, Matt Riley. He wants in on the action to see what these guys are going to do. Oh, there he is. He's on screen now. But very, very happy to get a top 5 spot in heat number 1. But making sure he keeps an eye on what other people are doing in heat number 2. There's 20 athletes across the floor. And it is Kant Porter, just 15 seconds slower. Luke Fiso as well, top of screen with no shirt and the red shorts. Luke Fiso doing very well in the Open in the last couple of years. 2016 he came 3rd, in 2017 he came 2nd. A little bit more conservative this year and coming in at 11th place. Didn't have a great start to event number 1 in regionals last year. Been a bit of a health scare last year, but bouncing back. Thornton CrossFit from Wellington, New Zealand.
All athletes here looking fairly composed as they, have come off of the rower, and they seem to be, relaxed and jumping. Their hands are, placed by their side, which is perfect before they, move into the running element.
So we've got 20 athletes on the field. If you've got an athlete next to you who holds their rope a little bit wider, and you do as well, you're almost going to be like holding hands as you're skipping.
Well, you know what I would be hoping is that the other athlete's helping me to do the double unders.
But it is something to consider, especially because room is fairly tight. So that's, I know some people have that awareness issue with their double unders and they don't want anyone in their space. These guys don't have a choice. You've got guys shoulder to shoulder, and they're going to be with you shoulder to shoulder all weekend long. Brandon Swan, one of those athletes looking to get back to the games, and he is now into the second 100, as is this guy, Luke Fiso.
Luke just looks really relaxed and composed, and that's exactly what you need to be in this particular part of the event, because you can only move so fast on the double unders. So the double under is a skip, and it's where the rope is passing twice underneath the feet. So you can only go as fast as the rope will swing around. So in this particular part of the race, it's no point in jacking up your heart rate and trying to, put as much effort into it, because it's not going to make a difference. It's only going to, as I mentioned, increase that heart rate, which is not what you want when you step onto that assault air runner. You want to be as relaxed and as composed so that you can, slowly build through the 3 mile run.
One of my smokies for the weekend is Matt Mcleod, and he now is in second position. He's in the black shirt, top of screen, and grey shorts. Behind our current leader, which is Luke Fiso, with the black and the red. Baden Brown to the left with a sleeveless top. But it is Luke Fiso, the first onto the assault air runner for the grueling 4.8 3 mile run. Matt Mcleod is our second athlete just behind. I had a good chat to Matt Mcleod during the week, and he said, look out for him in event 2. Well, we're looking out for him in event 1 right now. Brandon Swan, crowd favourite, now in 4th place. Now, I know Swanee has been training very hard on the assault runner. Can he put that training into practice and get off to a really good start here on day 1 of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Pacific Regional? Brandon Swan, currently a trainer at CrossFit Cova in Brisbane, which is Cara Saunders' gym. Probably handy having 2 assault air runners in your gym. As we hit the 15-minute mark of heat number 2 of event 1, we have got a very special guest with us. It is the one and only Mr. Rob Forte. G'day, Rob.
How are you, Rocky?
I'm good, buddy.
That's good.
So let's cast our minds back a few years. This one over in California was pretty good.
It was very good. I had an event win, my first event win at the CrossFit Games, and we're seeing it out here at Regionals, which is a good, nice, long event to kick off the Regionals.
So when you see something like this come up and you go, your choice to go team, do you just sort of sit back and go, that was the right decision?
Pretty much. I did actually enjoy doing it at the CrossFit Games in the sun. Running on the assault runner for this length of time, I actually don't really prefer that, so I'm glad I went team when I actually saw it.
And speaking of team, your team is off to a cracking start and sitting like at top of the leaderboard with Schwartz's. You must be very happy with that start.
Yeah, it was a good start. We got a third and a first. So the first one, we weren't sure how the girls were going to go on the handstand walk. It was a little bit hit and miss, but they got through it. And yeah, we got a third, which was really good.
That's fantastic. It looked like you, you know, had a really good strategy going into that event, and you were able to pace it as you were going. It seemed like, or appeared from us looking on screen, is that you had timed how long the girls were going to be on the run with your rest breaks through each of the pull-ups?
Yes, that's right. So we knew that we had about 1 to 1 minute 10 to complete our pull-ups, so I spaced them out in that time so it wouldn't elevate the heart rate. And I just needed to keep the girls sort of moving through those last 2 rounds on the pull-ups. So I was chatting to them in between in transition, just keeping them moving, keeping them calm and getting them to, I guess, keep the workout consistent as we went along.
Do you think that was really important going into that event, is to ensure that the rounds were pretty much, you know, almost very similar from start to finish?
Yeah, definitely. I said to them, it's not one in the first round or second round. We need to just feel like it's easy in that first round and then build on it from there and push in the third and fourth.
You can see that your strategy, you know, really went into play in that particular event where you guys just came home so strong.
Well, that was the plan. It actually worked out well.
So, Rob, we've had 20 do this event already. We've got another 20 now. Come on, you've got to give us some predictions for your top 5.
Cool.
Not for this event, but overall.
Oh, overall?
Yeah, come on.
I think the usual guys, so we'll see Zeke, we'll see James Newberry, Mitch Cinnamon, and then I'm going to say Khan makes it back and Brandon.
Dean Linda Layton, no, yes.
Possibly, if he can execute every event and not let his emotions get the better of him like he has shown in previous years. I think he's definitely got the tool set to get the job done. It's just whether he can apply that stuff. And I think it's the same for Brandon. If he can apply his strategies and hit it well over the weekend, he'll make it back because he does have the skills to do it.
Swanee moving into 5th position as the chess pieces move up the floor. Khan Porter not too far behind him. With the 333 over at the 2014 Games, your pacing for the event, how did you go with that? Did you pace the row hard? Were you conservative?
On the rower, I went actually pretty hard. I can row a 5K at a 147,500 average. So I knew that I'd be able to do that sort of pace for 3K and come off and be able to keep moving. So that was the goal. I actually rode pretty quickly. The double unders, just do double unders. And then the run, I had a stopwatch on and I was trying to run 4-minute Ks as close as I could. And I saw Jordan Troyan was actually catching me and I knew I needed to make a push on that last round. That first half to break him mentally, and that actually paid off and worked because I spoke to him afterwards and he said, yeah, you broke me. So, yeah, it was good.
Well, that's good that you messed with people behind you mentally as well. Yeah. Speaking of the mental game, we're on these assault runners for 22 to 25 minutes. We've seen a couple of people looking over. Patrick Vellner used a very good strategy to try and break people mentally to just run that little bit quicker in week 1. Hayden Levere, Mason Doherty did exactly the same thing with Matt Riley. What would your strategy be with here? Run your own race, or are you going to be looking around a little bit?
I would probably just go by how I'm feeling. But if I want to do well in the event, you've got to push hard. So if you want to be in that top 5, I think you've got to push hard from the rower all the way through this event. But if you know that endurance is not your strong point, I think you've got to be a little bit conservative on the early pieces and then go by how you're feeling on the assault runner. So for me, I would probably just concentrate on my pace on that monitor and really be dialed into it, and have a look at the chest pieces and use that as motivation to keep me moving forward.
We saw a couple of different movements on the assault air runner. Mason Doherty, this big loping long stride versus James Newberry, looking really composed and calm. It seemed to work for both of them.
Yeah, I did see that running style. It's unconventional style.
Very much so.
But I think on the assault runners, because you're pulling the belt down, it actually worked pretty well for him. So, yeah, I think you can adapt and use different techniques on the assault runner than running on the actual ground, and it obviously paid off for him. So it's something new to all of us still. I think figuring that stuff out will still come by when we do it more and more.
Can you tell us a little bit about your strategy going in, like running on the assault runner, and what kind of strategy you would adopt if you were running for this distance? Yeah,
I haven't actually done this event, but I would test it and see what a comfortable pace is for me, or a pace that I can maintain, and just keep my eye on that number. That's what I do on the rower. So I'll keep my eye on that rower and stay super focused and not gaze around too much. As soon as you gaze around, that pace actually drops off. So I'd be super focused on that number, and later on keep an eye on the chest pieces and see where everyone's at.
Almost like playing a little game.
Yeah, you've got to keep the mind occupied for that long. So yeah, I think you just got to keep yourself stimulated and keep yourself moving through.
So trying to keep yourself stimulated in an event like this, do you think it would be difficult to get into the state of flow?
If you're concentrating on a certain pace, I don't think so. But if you're wandering around looking at the crowd and your mind is gazing, then you're just out there just getting it done. You're not actually focused and getting into that flow state.
Our leaders, Luke Fiso, Matty Mcleod, Dean Linda Layton, the guy we spoke about, moving into third position now. Is he going to be making a push? Brandon Swan now into fourth. And Khan Porter, sixth position. So much experience in that shirtless shot right there. But Khan seems to be loping a little bit at the moment. He's not enjoying it, but he's only got about 15 minutes to go or so, so he'll be right.
Was that a shake of the head of like, uh-oh, no good, no good?
Now, drama unfolding right now. Zeke Grove actually stopping. I think it may be a little bit of cramp, but that is going to hurt the two-time Games competitor.
So from your experience, what do you think we were seeing there from Zeke Grove in the middle screen with the black shorts?
It looked like a left calf cramp. He got off, was stretching really quickly and got going again. So, and there's actually someone down in the lane closest to us, maybe experiencing the exact same thing. He's going to try and get going again.
Now, running on the assault air runner, which is a little bit different to running when you are running on the ground, because you do use a lot more of your hamstrings. Is that fair enough to say? Yeah,
in that team event that we just did on the assault runner, I could feel it more in my hamstrings than what I would normally do in a run. So I think it does light up muscles, like your body's not as conditioned to this style of running if you don't have an assault runner. So maybe these guys it's a bit of a shock to their system.
Maintaining your ability to continue in the event, would you change the position of your strike, heel strike a little bit more, toe strike a little bit more, just to try and lessen the impact? Because once you get cramp, everybody knows that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think so. You just have to try different things and work out what's more comfortable. And if certain muscle groups are fatiguing a little bit more, you change your stride up a little bit to target, say, your quads a little bit more. I do that on the rower quite a bit. If I feel certain muscle groups are fatiguing, I'll change my position up a little bit, and it gets me through and keeps me going.
We saw, going back this morning to the team competition, we saw a lot of teams struggle with that handstand walk. You were one of the first teams that I noticed on social media. As soon as Dave Castro, 8 teams, you were warned. Like, I think within the hour you had it built. How much did you actually practice?
Yeah, so I did my carpentry apprenticeship when I left school, so I was straight on the tools and built one. Actually enjoyed building it, so thanks, Dave. And yeah, we practiced it straight away. Sarah wasn't as comfortable in the handstand walk, so we had to drill that in for her quite a bit. You can see cramping is becoming a bit of an issue in this event.
Hayden Wolfsbauer again coming in injury-free, but now having to deal with calf cramps.
You know, I am wondering if the time back of the stage before going into this event, just that time cooling down before, you know, being the other heat had to go first, may play a bit of an issue coming into an event like this?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure what some of these guys' warm-up routines were. Maybe they neglected some parts of their warm-up. But I actually think that most of these guys are experiencing it because it's just a little bit of a shock to their system. Maybe not doing as much running year-round, and they're just trying to cram once their workouts are actually announced. And some of them probably don't actually have assault runners to practice on. Like I said, that impact is very different to running on the ground.
Because it is something very different, and it's a tool that you actually have to use and you have to run on to get used to it.
Yeah, it's very specific to that. I think the more you can get on it, the better. You start to understand your pace and what works better on it. So the people that have them and used them a lot, I think it'll definitely pay off. It evens the field out a little bit. I think the stronger runners don't get as far ahead as what they would if it was a normal run. And I've found that in previous years with running events. Normally, if it's a normal run at the games, I'm up the front. And on the assault runners, it's more of an even playing field.
I have to agree. And I think it's, you know, depending on where the foot strike is, you know, if an athlete's able to, you know, strike their foot up higher on the belt and just bring it down that little bit faster, or perhaps, you know, they've got a little bit more weight to actually bring the belt back that tiny little bit faster. You can see quite a bit of fatigue setting in here.
Yeah.
All the gentlemen, kind of their hips are swaying from side to side. You know, the arms are dropping as well.
Yeah. So I think maintaining good posture and keeping your head up, eyes up, you know, it's very important. It's that sort of body-mind connection. You start slumping, your mind starts to wander, and you start to get that negative thoughts coming in.
So Brendan Swan, second to the right of screen. Looks like he's got his eyes closed. I don't know if he's just looking down or if he's just trying to zone out, and just Zeke now stopping for the 4th time.
I think Brandon's just looking at the monitor, possibly. I think you'd lose your balance pretty quickly if you had your eyes closed on the assault runner. It's pretty hard to stay on the belt if you've got your eyes closed.
I think what we can say is probably that Brandon seems to be, from first appearance, he looks more to be in that state of flow. He's, you know, as you said before, just keeping focused on his own screen and, you know, what he needs to run in every mile in this particular event.
Yeah, just looking at his body position, and he looks more focused and in a more comfortable state. He's looking very strong. And they've just moved his chest piece up, so he's level with 4 other guys, so there's 5 of them all in the same 400-metre mark.
Luke Fiso still our current leader. Matty Mcleod not too far behind. 3rd place, Dean Linda Layton. Baden Brown from CrossFit Townsville in 4th position. Brandon Swan rounding out our top 5 as we're now hitting that really hard bit of the run where the legs are full of lead. And we've seen one of the hardest struggles is actually getting off the assault runner and actually finishing the event.
Yeah, they're walking, they're running off like baby giraffes. So it's just that, again, after being on a treadmill and hitting the ground, it's a weird feeling, and the legs need to catch up a little bit. So I've had that feeling plenty of times after thrusters and you try and run off. It's a very, very similar feeling.
2-time Games competitor Zeke Grove with it all to do and falling way behind everybody else. This is going to be crucial going into the last 2 days of competition. Not really what you want to see. Rob, a couple of years back, you and Swanee did the same thing after day 1, and you had to make up a massive deficit to come back.
Yeah, I've done it actually a few times at regionals. I have some I've had a few bad day ones, but I use it as motivation to, you know, I'm giving everyone a head start. Like, I just make jokes about it and keep myself positive, and it's more of a challenge for me in the next 2 days. So not usually down about it, just upbeat about it, joke around about it, and know that I can make it up in the events to come.
One of the comments I heard, we actually heard it on the audio after you finished the event this morning, was recover mentally, was your comment to Sarah. And obviously physical recovery is very important, but trying to get those nerves and everything settled down. Like, if this is the big show before you go to the games, like, you want to get those 4 team members like zoned in, not worried too much about what's ahead, but what's just in front of you.
Yeah, she was struggling a little bit in that event. I guess she had to push really hard towards the end. And I just wanted her to switch on and not make a big deal about it. That's why I said recover mentally. Like, don't make a big deal about it. You're fine, it's over, move on. And I think it speeds up that whole recovery process physically as well as mentally, because then she could just snap out of it straight away and move on to the next thing.
That's a really great point, because I think athletes can probably carry what happened out on the floor with them through the rest of the weekend. And it's very important because it does show physically in their performance if they, you know, put too much thought or start overthinking about how they did on each event.
Yeah, definitely. I think the quicker you can move on, take the lessons away from it that you can take into the rest of the weekend, and then leave it at that and move on.
Matt Mcleod taking the lead, and he needs to run the last mile in 7 minutes 40 if he's going to beat James Newberry's time of 37 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's talk Newbury for a second, Rob. Not a great start to the Open and had to claw his way back a fair bit. What did you sort of expect from him coming into this? Did you expect him to take out Heat 1?
I'm actually not sure what I expected from him. I think the Open wasn't a reflection of the athlete that he is. I think he was just going through a bit of a tough time mentally to try and get back into training after the games last year and competing with him on the invitational team. I know he was sort of going through that a little bit, so I think he just needed to go through that transition and learn to love it again. And it'll be interesting to see whether he shows that out on the floor this weekend, whether he's actually enjoying it or whether it looks like he's just sort of going through the motions. I think that'll be the key.
Had a really good chat to him yesterday, and we spoke a little bit about the invitational and how taxing it was, but he said going up and training with Tia was probably the best thing he could have done, because it sort of refreshed him just a little bit. Zeke Grove still on the struggle, and those cramps must be hitting him pretty hard. But we've got a great battle to take out heat number 2. Maddie Mcleod, Luke Fiso, Baden Brown, Brandon Swan, Dean Linda Leighton. Luke Fiso then to the right of screen with the grey and red shorts. Baden Brown, 3 athletes in lane 17 from CrossFit Townsville. Maddie Mcleod 1 over in lane 16. Looks like he's striding out pretty well and speeding up a little bit.
So as a competitor, you know, competing year after year after year, can you run us through, you know, the mental strength that it takes to, you know, be able to build up the mental fortitude to train, you know, for the time it takes in a season, and, you know, to compete in the regionals, to compete in the games, and then to come back year after year with that hunger?
Yeah, it is very difficult. It's a hard thing. In competition, a lot of people don't realise all the emotions and stuff that come with it, all the bad times that go with the good times. So that's definitely hard, but the biggest part of preparing for a competition is the training. So you've got to learn to enjoy the training and learn to enjoy getting better. I think that's the key component, and then figure out your competition craft, like really work on that competition after competition. But I think for me, enjoying the journey has been the thing that's allowed me to keep doing it for a long time.
And it has been very impressive, you know, for someone to be you know, so successful year after year, that's extremely commendable because, you know, you really hardly see it. And I can only speak for myself. I know I only competed a few years in a row, but I have to admit, you know, I just got to a stage where I was like, yeah, I like competing. I don't really like the training. Yeah, I'm going to step away.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It really is. A lot of people don't realise.
All right, Rod, thanks so much for your time. I know you've got a busy schedule ahead. Good luck for the next 2 days and look forward to seeing you over in Madison for the CrossFit Games on the team side of things.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Will do. Thanks, buddy. 35 minutes down. If Matty Mcleod wants to beat James Newbury's time of 37.40, he better maintain this current pace. Matty's looking up at the clock, just seeing what the time is. He's got 2 minutes, and I reckon he's probably got around 400, maybe 500 metres to go. Baden Brown to the right of Matty Mcleod. He's looking to snatch that second position. Matty Mcleod now, 400 metres remaining. If he maintains this pace, he could potentially take that #1 spot from James Newbury.
So this is the start of the race where, you know, all athletes really do need to put it all on the line. As you can see, Matty Mcleod there on screen, you know, in the grey shorts, he really is putting his heart into it. Each stride, he's putting every single ounce of effort he can. He's got to that end part of the race that he just needs to hold on. An event win here could bode very well for him coming into the start of this weekend.
Well, he said to me on the phone that he's going to go unbroken in event #2, which is going to be interesting. If he can have a great result here in event #1, and event 2 goes well for him, we could have a new qualifier.
Hey, that's
Speaking of new
start.
qualifiers, there's one guy who wants to get over to the games as well, Dean Linda Layton. He's had a couple of cracks at it. Is this going to be his year? 40 seconds till that time of James Newbury. It is looming. Matty Mcleod, Luke Fiso, Dean Linda Layton, 1, 2, and 3. Baden Brown, Khan Porter, Brandon Swan. The sprint has now started from Matty Mcleod and Baden Brown. Beto looking pretty strong on the right of screen. He wants it.
He is running as fast as he possibly can. His arms are swinging faster. He's trying to cycle his legs over as quick as they possibly can.
Luke Fiso to the right of screen, judge's hand in the air, but it is going to be Matty Mcleod. What a great start to the weekend. He won't win the event, that goes to James Newbury. But Matty Mcleod, are we going to see a rookie appearance at the Reebok CrossFit Games this year? CrossFit Cross-Axed in Brisbane, and it is Beto Brown, another one of those qualifiers who we could see going over to Madison. What a great result. Dean Linda Layton. Wow, this is going to shake things up. 3 guys with no games experience, 1, 2, and 3 in heat #2. Make that 4 with Luke Fiso coming over the line. Better result than his first event last year. The battle of Swanee and Khan is now on. It looks like Swanee's got it. Zeke stopping again to the left of screen. This is not going to be good for Zeke Grove if he wants a 3rd trip back, but he's only got 400 metres to go. Great start for the weekend. Khan Porter and Brandon Swan finishing up.
Now, I want to go back to what Lily was talking about with Khan, you know, earlier, and saying that, you know, Khan wasn't looking for a win in this event, but he was looking to do well. So I think it's fair enough to say he'll probably be really satisfied with how that event went.
I think he'll be stoked. And Haynes coming over the line. Been here a number of years. Jordan Bender. Can you believe Jordan Bender? 8th time regional appearance, and he's 25 years old.
He's so young, but a lot of experience.
Carlos Abaldejo finishing up, and Mitch Zinnemann. Wonder how that compared to the other 2 times he did it. But under that 40-minute mark, which is a pretty good time considering. But eyes on Zeke Grove. After all that stopping, he has not done too badly.
Look, Jeremy, he actually looks pale. I'm wondering if, you know, they do have a new baby. I think we need to keep that in mind. I'm just wondering if there's, you know, anything that's happened that as a result of, you know, when you do have a newborn, you know, feeling unwell. Exactly, lack of sleep. Like, let's keep that in mind for him. You know, there are a number of things that can happen as a new parent.
Oh, of course. And he's had such a rough trot since the games last year, but he is going to be finishing up very soon. His good mate, Joel Munro, to the right of screen with the light grey shorts. Zeke will be happy, and looks like he's moving a lot better now. And Zeke Grove, he's got to minimise the damage, and he does beat good mate Joel Munro over the line, even with all that stopping. And now recovery D is going to be so important if Zeke wants to go back to the games this year.
Recovery is important, and these gentlemen are hurting. That is a grueling, grueling way just to start the weekend. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but we do know that Zeke was experiencing, you know, quite a bit of pain.
And a bit of discomfort. Antonio Barreas coming over the line. It's our lone competitor from Mccoy. Fist bumps for the judges. Big thank you to those guys who volunteer their time all weekend.
And we know the athletes are nearing to the end when they start speeding up on the assault air runner.
Alex Younger, another one of our Hong Kong athletes. And very happy to see the back end of that event. Alex actually training partners with Ant Haynes in Hong Kong. Still 6 athletes remaining. And Sanjay finishing off. And in lane number 1, far left of screen, Mccoy now having to walk. Those cramps got him early, and they have not gone anywhere.
It's important to note, you know, what Rob said about earlier is that you do need to have an assault air runner to run on to just get used to and get the muscles firing that is used when running, because it is a little bit of a different technique. You are using more of your hamstrings. So we don't know for sure, but, you know, just having that time and that experience of running on a machine like this would definitely help people, or help, you know, any of the athletes going into the event.
And just staying moving throughout this event, regardless if he can run or not. We did see Rich Froning walk during the 2014 333 event. He bounced back and won it.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So it can affect the best and the worst of us. And Mccoy battling those cramps still, but maintaining that walking pace. Hayden Wolfsbarrow to the right of screen. They got him as well.
And I think it's important at this stage for the athletes, you know, not to go into damage control, just to stay nice and composed and do their best they can. They do have a lot of other events, you know, coming up over the weekend. This is just the start.
Coming up to 4 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. Let's head down to the floor with Lily Cosgrove.
Jeremy, I just had a chat with Matt Mcleod, who was our heat winner for that event. He told me he was actually chasing down James Newberry's previous time from the former heat. So that was in his mind. I asked him how he was feeling, and he said he was feeling his quads were really tight, his calves were really tight after really sprinting that last mile on the runner. And right now his only focus is to get back to the recovery area and just have a walk and chill out and get ready for Linda, event number 2.
Not really surprised to see Matty Mcleod after he did call his shot and said he was going to get on that podium and head to the games. Jacob Pfaff, oh, here we go, we've got a sprint on now. Myung-Sik Kwak getting over Jacob Pfaff, 2 of our Asian competitors. We've got 3 left on the floor. Carlos Albaladejo, another one of our Asian competitors over here at the Pacific Regional. Billy Pullen to the left of screen. Another one of our Asian competitors with Hayden Wolfsbauer. And Billy Pullen about to finishing off and not in too much of a rush. Trying to drag those legs over the line. So the 2 guys who got hit with cramps still on the Assault Air Runner. And we've got some info on Zeke Grove down with Lily Cosgrove.
Jeremy, just an update on how Zeke's travelling. He looked from the spectator's point of view like he was really struggling on that run. And what he said was that he is managing a niggling injury that he already had coming into the regionals weekend. And it was actually a strategy of his to stop on the runner and just have a little breaks here and there. So it wasn't a cramp or anything like that. It's something that he is managing. That was his strategy and his plan. And now that that event is out of the way, he doesn't believe that the little niggle will prevent him from excelling in the other tests that we have. So look for Zeke to still continue to do well this weekend.
So he fooled us all, Zeke Grove. It was all part of the plan.
I thought he looked pale.
Same. Maybe he needs to get into that Queensland sun and get more of a tan.
Hey, sorry, Zeke, sorry.
Hayden Wolfsbauer has got 2 minutes. Number of the athletes coming over to give these guys a little bit of help. Mccoy still getting that walk on. "90 seconds now."
I have to say that is surprising. I really thought Zeke looked pale, and I was only reflecting on, you know, when I was competing after I'd had Sarah, and, you know, it was so up and down whether, you know, how I'd be feeling walking out onto the floor, you know, depending on the amount of sleep that you got or what happened. A number of... Exactly. Or any number of colds and flus and, yeah, you name it, that you got as a result of just having a newborn.
Speaking of newborns, the guy to the right of screen, Hayden Wolfsbauer, is dealing with that at the moment and training for one of the hardest tests you'll ever get. It is event number 1 of day number 1 of the Pacific Regional, and he's going to have to get out and get some ice on those hamstrings. And coming in after a couple of years of injury, coming in fresh and getting nailed with a cramp early. Already stretching from the get-go. Don't waste any time.
It's a little bit of shake. Looks like his calves are on fire.
Mccoy, a lone competitor left and not able to run at all due to those cramps, but he is going to keep going. Oh, he's got the run on now for the last 10 seconds. Hats off, Mccoy. Great job from all our competitors. Event number 1 done for the men. For the individual competition, our event 1 results. Our Pacific champ from last year, James Newbury. Harry Debenham, 2nd position. That's going to be great for Harry. Matty Mcleod in that heat just then. getting that third position in 37.53. But a couple of newcomers, Baden Brown and Dean Linda Layton, trying to back up that open performance with the #1 seed coming in. And Khan Porter, 10th place. He has minimised the damage he thought was going to happen on that event big time.
10 seconds, athletes. Stand by.